I have almost an entirely new social circle of women I connect with better because we are all sober. We're thinking very clearly and rationally, and we just have different goals and things we're moving toward, and they get me. And I remember thinking, well, if I quit drinking, then I'll lose all my friends. Oh, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I got all new, better friends. And I don't even mean better. I mean people that just really get the core of who I am.
Welcome to the That's Where I'm At podcast. I'm Laura, happily divorced after spending years with a narcissist. I believe keeping secrets will make you sick and that they always come to light in the end. As women, we're often told to be quiet, don't share your story, don't talk about the things we go through. It's making women sick, sad, and suicidal. We don't have to be on the other side to share our story. This show is for the women still in the middle of the mess, but showing up bravely as they heal. It's time to share these stories with each other so we can learn, grow, and heal together. I'm Laura, and that's where I'm at.
Hey, it's Laura. If while you're listening today, something hits a little too close to home, if you find yourself thinking, how does she know exactly what I've been through? It's because I've lived it too. I want to remind you that I offer one-on-one coaching for women who are ready to stop questioning their worth, heal from the mind games, and start reclaiming a life they actually want to wake up to. Check the link in the show notes to book a call today. Now here's the episode. Please take note that this episode may contain subjects that may be triggering to certain listeners. Please take care when listening today. Hi, guys, and welcome to the That's Where I'm At podcast. Today, I have Kate. Kate has been a nurse for over 2 decades. In the past 5 years, she has focused on mental health and sobriety, both in her career and her personal life. She speaks openly about her journey getting sober and how she has taken back her own power. Kate is a personal development coach as well, who runs her own private practice. She helps women stop hiding behind alcohol or food or any limiting belief that are holding them back from discovering their divine purpose. She herself has healed from narcissistic relationships with men through getting sober and hiring a personal coach. And she is a firm believer in the power of women helping women. So welcome to the show, Kate.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I love your focus with helping women with those things, those limiting beliefs and those things that we can use to numb ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about how that ended up being where you're doing that now. Like, well, how did you end up coaching this?
Yeah. So I'm 44. So I drank pretty heavily through my 30s. And, that's a time in our lives when we're sort of becoming, more of adulthood than we're stepping more into our adulthood than we would in our 20s, right? Yeah. So my career was flourishing. I was really finding a sense of my footing in the world. But through that time, drinking so heavily, I lost a sense of self. And that's a time that I find when I look back, I was in like multiple unhealthy romantic relationships. Okay. And I sort of fell, I hate to say the word prey, but I fell a little prey to narcissistic type men, preyed on women who were vulnerable in the sense that when you are drinking really heavily, you are a vulnerable person in that it's very obvious you're not really in charge of your own life.
Right.
Like you're not thinking clearly, you're not making good decisions. You often can't remember the things that you did the night before. So you second guess. So you're likely to believe anyone's story about you, right?
Right. It's bad enough when the narcissists are trying to fool us in other ways, but add on to you don't remember the night before. Yes.
Yeah. And I was really insecure. I was insecure about my figure. I was insecure about my looks. It was just that combination in my life where I just didn't have a good sense of self. And I was addicted to alcohol. So there was that, just a foggy sense of self, a foggy memory. And I kind of felt like I fumbled through my days that way. And when I got sober in 2018, I was 38 years old. So I was going right into my 40s. And I felt like this adult woman who had no idea who she was. And that's when I really realized that so much of what I had become was conditioned by society. It was conditioned by unhealthy relationships and, of course, my own drinking. And so it became like my own mission to take back my personal power because I was constantly seeing in my life how men had started to take advantage of the fact that I wasn't managing my own life very well. I was easy prey for controlling narcissistic men who knew that I didn't have I wasn't standing on solid ground. And and I didn't know who I was.
Right.
And that was like, I was a prime target.
Well, I just think back to that time and I had kids and I was married and I'm like, I didn't know who I was either. I mean, it's hard. So did you have this model to you, in childhood, or did you have some sort of childhood or even young adulthood that got you into having to drink to numb?
No, I really didn't. I don't have that typical story of alcoholism where I started when I was very young. I actually didn't start drinking until my early 20s, but I became a registered nurse at 22. And I was very responsible. I kind of took the world upon my shoulders. Okay. And so when I found alcohol, it seemed like a really good sense of relief for someone who had taken on so much. And yeah, it's crazy how fast alcohol takes a hold of you. I mean, I talk to clients about nobody plans on being an alcoholic, right? That's not our plan. It's just kind of it's a very insidious drug that creeps up on us, and it becomes very addicting quickly because it's so normalized in our society. We often don't notice how heavy we're drinking until it's too late. And it affects women in particular so much harder and faster and stronger than men because of the way that our bodies are designed, our genetics, our weight, our fat composition, our hormones, our size.
Right, exactly. Yes, it doesn't take as much, right?
Absolutely.
To make a difference. So when were you a nurse and how long did you do that? And what did you concentrate on?
Yeah, so I started I became a registered nurse in 2001. So way back, right? So I was 22 and I started out in hospital nursing. I was a cardiac nurse for a while, I think 7 or 8 years. And then I batted around to various nursing fields. I even worked in pharmaceutical sales for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And that's a really interesting environment for women to be in, most definitely.
Really? Oh, okay.
Absolutely. But what I think, it's funny because during that time in my life, especially my late 20s, early 30s, is when I really wanted to establish myself as a strong, independent woman.
Right.
And that's when I was kind of sold the lie that alcohol was my ticket to women's liberation, that I could sit at the bar like the men and have drinks and no one could tell me what to do. Right. Like that was my odd sense of like, this is me as a grown-up who makes her own decisions.
Right. And we see that, right? We see that in society. We see that in movies and TV shows or whatever. You're sitting up there. It looks so classy at the end at the end of the day. This is the thing that people do or whatever, right? Yeah. So, and that's hard because, and I remember myself having low self-esteem, low self-worth, and thinking, okay, well, if I do this thing, this will help me get there, right?
Yeah.
If we do this thing. And did you find yourself in that kind of, thinking those things?
Sort of, kind of. When I look back, I honestly, when you talk about was this drinking behavior modeled for me, not so much, but what was modeled for me was a woman, my mother, trying to establish her own liberation in kind of a Mad Men era where the men drank and caroused and did their manly things and the women were kind of stuck in the kitchen. And I saw my mom really be kind of pushed down by that time in society. And so I had this idea that I was really going to go for it in terms of my own female power and my own like sense of independence. Watching my mom be kind of pushed into the kitchen made me want to just go the other direction and just really focus on a career and I'll be the one to drink if I want. And maybe that was part of it. It's really hard to know.
Right, exactly. And there's so many influences, right? I don't think we consciously say this, and this necessarily. I think there's so many factors. I think back and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember thinking that, but it wasn't like a conscious effort to go, yes, I'm going to do this thing and now this thing, and then everything will be fine if I do these
Yeah.
things. And so tell me about some of the relationships you've had that came from maybe a toxic time, maybe if you weren't feeling like your best self before you got into coaching. Like, what does it look like for some of those toxic relationships for you?
Yeah. Let's see, in my mid to late 30s, I was drinking heavily. On the outside, I had it together. I had a great job in pharmaceutical sales, but I was hard partying, and I fell into a relationship with someone who must have seen me coming from a mile away, right? Like an easy target of trying to be tough on the outside, but on the inside, very insecure, was self-medicating with a lot of alcohol. And so I fell fast and hard into a romantic relationship that in my gut I knew was wrong. But I also didn't feel confident enough about my own self that I felt like I deserved any better.
Okay.
Maybe it was that I secretly knew I was drinking too much, and I had really screwed up relationships with food. I had eating disorders. These were my deep, dark, hidden secrets, right? And so I think there was a part of me that felt like, well, this is as good as I can get.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this guy, he wants me, he likes me, he might be the only thing I can get because I'm pretty screwed up.
Right. And did you feel like you were, okay, so like you're already not feeling great about yourself, and then you get into this toxic relationship. And I know that for me, it was just like, even without knowing, it just was getting worse and worse. My self-esteem and everything about me was getting worse and worse. And I know there were lots of things I did. I numbed with food for a long time. That was modeled to me. So that was something. And of course, we all talk about comfort food and those kinds of things, right? And so it's hard it makes it almost like okay, right?
Yeah.
When we say comfort food and things like that, or, oh my gosh, I've had a hard week, I'm going to go have a drink kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long were you in the relationship? How did that progress with yourself? If you were already feeling bad about yourself, how do you feel like how that progressed?
Yeah, I think I was with him for a year or two, year and a half. And I shoved down the feelings deep in my gut that when I knew his behavior was wrong, when I had this spidey sense of his narcissism, right? Like his lack of empathy, when I knew deep down in my gut he was cheating on me, when I knew there was a lot of lying, with little remorse, no remorse. I knew those things in my gut, but instead of addressing it, I drank, and I drank more, and I used food, and I shopped, and it was like I tried to silence myself.
Yeah. Right. We're having those, well, you're hearing, or you have those spidey senses. I love that you say that, because I say that too. You know, you have those gut feelings and you're like, no, you bat it away. Right. We try to, what's the word I'm trying to say? we just try to, nope, that's not happening kind of thing. Because I just thought there was no way, especially for my relationship. I thought there's no way, because he says he's not. He says he won't. He says, you know what I mean? And our relationship was built on trust. Well, I didn't know. That's what you hope. That's what you wish, right? That's what you're hoping, right? That is really stinks. And I just want to encourage women that if you're feeling something in your gut, if you're feeling like something is off, or you catch them multiple times lying or whatever, cheating, whatever, they're not going to get any better. When we allow it again, right? Are you finding this, like when you're coaching other women, when you're coaching women, if you allow it again, then they just have permission again to do it again. I know I gave him permission in lots of ways with the things I allowed, and that's really hard. Do you feel like you have to tell women that? Do you think that's something that they understand? It's almost like a boundary thing, learning boundaries.
When I coach, I do a lot of coaching around sobriety. And so, I mean, I feel like a lot of conversations revolve around what are you drinking at? What are you shoving down?
Yes.
And I really love to talk about the shadow self, the wounded self, the part of ourselves that we don't want to really shed a light on. Maybe that's childhood stuff or insecurities. And so when we talk about like drinking to shove our emotions down, often that is stuff that bubbles up with red flags. When we're in a relationship with someone and we see a red flag and we're trying to ignore it or numb it or buffer it, things that we do to ourselves, drink, eat, shop, gamble, whatever, it ultimately just keeps coming back and keeps coming back and keeps coming back. Author Danielle Laporte has this saying that nothing ever fully goes away until we love it.
Oh, wow.
And I really like to investigate what are the things about ourselves that we're shoving down? And especially like when it comes to our romantic relationships, are we entering into relationships where we are easy targets for someone that can see that we are basically self-sabotaging?
Right. Yes, exactly. What does that look like? Or how do you advise people? What does that look like to look like we're self-sabotaging or we look like we're an easy target, quote unquote?
Yeah. I mean, when I look back at my own experience with being in a narcissistic relationship, I really have to own my part in it, in that, like I said, he must have seen me coming from a mile away, drinking to excess every evening. My emotions were all over the place, not remembering things, very blatantly self-sabotaging. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a part of us that we set ourselves up in that way for men like that or partners like that to engage in relationships with us. So when I talk to women about drinking, I really like to enforce like a sense of personal agency. Who is it ultimately that you intend to be in this world? How do you want to move about this world and show up in this world? And what is your drinking doing to sabotage that for you? And how does this putting you in places, in situations with people that you don't even like?
And then something that you and I talked about before, we were talking about, what are you doing to cope or tolerate a relationship? And so are you talking about with them that kind of thing? Like they're in a relationship and they're drinking maybe to excess or doing something else. Are you talking to them about different coping strategies, things like that?
I am. And also the funny thing happens when we get sober is we look around at all of our relationships and we look at them like, was I just tolerating this relationship in my life, this friendship, right? This group of girls I go out and hang out with. Or I often tell people, don't be surprised. You have a lot of questions about your marriage when you sober up and you look around and you think, do I like this person without numbing myself with a lot of alcohol? And so, I mean, I would say give yourself permission to question your relationships when you get sober.
It's really scary, right? You know,
absolutely.
I didn't have to get sober, though it's funny, I did during, because let me tell you, and I don't think people realize this, and so I talk about this, I kind of stopped drinking by accident because what I noticed was that I was getting clarity after leaving a narcissistic relationship because, you know, you're in the mind games and stuff. And so I was getting clarity. And then when I would have a drink, I'd be like, oh, I'm not clear anymore.
Yeah.
And I was so wanting the clarity that I was like, well, then I don't want to drink because I'd spent so many years not clear and in mind games and stuff. So it was funny because it kind of happened just by accident, just by me being aware. And one of the other things that happened, what we were just talking about, was I noticed as I was getting healthy emotionally, starting to set different boundaries, I started looking around at who was treating Laura a certain way kind of thing and going, oh, okay, so these friends are just going to be the ones I go to dinner with. And these friends are going to be the ones I can actually have a deep conversation with. And some friends just fell away because they're like, oh, we don't like Laura who sets boundaries. They never said that, but that's what, that's what I think. So it's funny to look around. It kind of gets a little bit lonely. Let's get real. Gaslighting isn't just a buzzword. It's that sick, spiraling feeling in your gut when they say, that's not what I said. You always twist things, or you're too sensitive. I was just joking. Yeah, I can totally relate. I spent 33 years with someone who made me feel like I was the problem every time, no matter what. That's why I wrote, You're Not Crazy, Reclaiming Your Sanity and Self-Worth After Narcissistic Abuse. Because you deserve to trust your gut again. You deserve to trust you. And spoiler alert, you were never the problem. Gaslighting is the main tactic of a narcissist. This book won't fix your ex, but it will help you fix your peace. Just check out the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Don't wait to start your healing.
And I like that you said clarity and setting boundaries, because I would imagine my narcissistic ex does not look for a woman as a partner who is clear or has any boundaries. Right?
No.
So that's why I say I was an easy target as a very obvious alcoholic.
Me too. I mean, seriously, me too. I mean, I was just wanting to be loved. And that right there, I mean, I might as well have put up a big sign that says, I'll do anything for love. You know what I mean? And it's just, I mean, really anything. And so and we make it clear. And if we can make that clear, it's good that you're showing people then, because I've done a lot of work with coaches and stuff as well. And in therapy going, if I can make that clear, that I'll do anything for love, I can make the other thing clear that here are my boundaries.
Yes.
It's wild on that.
And I think it's interesting we're talking about how we're kind of realizing our part in this, because when I coach, I do hold women accountable and saying, yes, you were with a narcissist, and yes, he was awful or she was awful. Mm-hmm. However, your part in this was that in some way you went along with the behaviors because that was fulfilling a need within you for some reason. Like you saying, I would hold up a sign saying, please, I'll do anything. I felt that there was a time in my life when I would have done that as well. Yeah. The more I drank, the more anxious and insecure I felt, the more I was likely to hold up that sign. And so I also talk to people a lot about underlying emotions that come with drinking, because I think that a lot of what happens in these relationships with someone who is likely to take advantage is that there is a preying on our anxiety level and our insecurity. And I do a lot of talking about how alcohol only fuels to your anxiety. And your superpower is getting really clear so you remember everything through the night. No one can gaslight you and say, well, you did this and you did that. No one can tell you where you can go or what you can do or who you can be with, because you're clear. You're going to remember everything.
Yeah.
I'm remarried. My husband's wonderful, but he can't tell me you can't drive there or do this because I'm sober. So clarity and a sense of personal agency are some of the first things that come with owning a sober life. And in that, you can set really clear boundaries on how you expect to be treated.
Right.
And like we say, we teach people how to treat us.
Yeah.
We're always teaching people how to treat us, which is the interesting thing.
It is. It's so interesting, even without saying it, right? A few years ago, before I really started figuring out boundaries and what does a boundary look like? And because I think people think that boundaries, when people say boundaries didn't work for me, it's like, okay, but boundaries are not me telling you what to do. Boundaries are saying, if you continue what you're doing, I'm going to go, kind of thing. And that's what people don't realize. They think, well, boundaries don't work because the other people don't do what I say. And it's like, well, it's not about that. It's got to be about you.
Yeah.
And I remember before I really knew that, I just remembered people were treating me a certain way. And I started saying out loud, and I didn't even know what this meant, but I was like, somewhere along the way, you guys have been given permission to treat me like this, and I don't like it. And people would be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And no one knew what to do. I didn't even know what to do. I just knew it was coming out of me to say that, going, I somehow gave you guys permission to treat me like this, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, right? That we do that without even trying. So that's why when you were talking about how when you're telling clients that when you get sober, you might be like seeing things around you that they don't like. Yeah. And do you find some resistance
to that because
Absolutely.
that's a really scary proposition. And so maybe people shouldn't know that. No, just kidding.
No, I think
it's great. Just keep doing it.
no, it's important to know what could come and what will come. And it's also amazing that those things come because a relationship can go one of two ways. It can either be that you get sober, you wake up, you look around and you go, this person isn't for me. Or you get sober and you get to know your partner on a much deeper level because you know yourself as well. Oftentimes partners get sober. I know my husband got sober when I was 4 years sober. He finally quit drinking. But because of that, we are much, much closer. And I don't think he would have ever gotten sober had I not led the way.
Right.
Again, we're teaching people how to treat us.
Yes. It's so interesting.
It really is. And I really try to empower. I know that's kind of a cliche, cheesy buzzword. I empower women.
I like it though.
But really, like I do because I get excited about it. And when I get excited about it, I want to scream it from the rooftops. But what I love to do is work on empowering conversations with women about developing a sense of personal agency when you are clear and sober-minded, making your own decisions, teaching people how to treat you in any type of relationship, whether it's with a narcissistic or not person or not. And really, like the way you move about the world will be different when you are sober and clear. And that in and of itself will teach people how to treat you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like what you had said before. You said, if you're numbing, you're giving away your power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so true because like you were saying, can you give an example, just one thing that you teach people on how to be empowered? I like that because frankly, when you get excited, it's like if somebody doesn't understand, when I tell people, I'm like, I'm so excited for you. And if you're not excited or if you're too scared, I will share my excitement with you, or I will share my courage with you so that you can try and move forward. You know what? I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but I believe in that because that kind of thing excites me when people are like, I don't know what to do, or I'm too scared to do it. I want to help people. I want to help others to better their lives as well.
I would say what I often end up saying is a client could borrow my belief in them before they are able to believe in themselves. I might be jumping up and down on a chair, but what I really hope someone takes away is belief in themselves, even if you have to borrow mine for a while, belief in the process that it takes time through sobriety to peel back the layers and figure out who you are, and to have a sense of hope. And borrow my hope if you don't have any. Because I understand in the beginning, it's really hard to have hope because it's such a messy process to get sober.
And also when you're trying to even set boundaries, right? Or even have showing others how to treat you. And if it's going to be different than it has been, I think that's scary because the people who have benefited from you not having boundaries or for you being not sober, maybe some people have benefited from that. And,
many people.
Right. And so now it's going to be messy at the beginning. Everybody's not just going to go, wow, this is great. This is the new you. We love it. It's the best. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. I mean, there's a saying, in sobriety and recovery circles, like the only thing that has to change is everything. Because oftentimes we end up getting an entirely new social group, friend group, because you're just not the same person. When you stop numbing, you open your eyes and you look around, it's like waking up from a dream. And you're just going to move differently about the world. And people are going to react to that differently. I know without a shadow of a doubt, if 6 years sober Kate today met my ex-boyfriend at a library, I would listen to him for about 15 minutes and go, have a nice day. I will never see you again. I mean, I just would know right away. Like there's one, I'm married, but two, if I were single again, right away, like there's just no freaking way in a millennia I would ever. But when I was drinking, I felt so low about myself and I was so blinded to even my own opinions and thoughts because I was so numbed out that it was kind of like I just was like, sure, fine. I was just resigned to be with anybody who would take me because I just had no sense of self-worth.
Right. I know. And it's hard because I think back because I was so young when I met I was 19 when I met him. I was 22 when we got together. And just, he said all the things. And now I look back and I'm like, he was mirroring me and he was love bombing me. And he was like, oh, you want 3 kids? I want 3 kids. You want to be married?
Yes.
I want to be married.
Yeah.
And it's like, when I think back, I'm like, dang it, girl. What was wrong with you? But that's who I was, right? And that was the person with my low self-esteem and this need to be loved and me holding up my sign saying, I'll do anything.
Yes.
Will you love me? That kind of thing. And yeah, it's hard. But I mean, all we can do is live and learn and move forward with the new skills we have and know that, okay, we can't do it this way, or we can't do it the old way. We have to do it the new way.
Yeah.
And it's so funny what you were talking about, the new friend circle and all that. And
everything.
The thing I want to encourage people is that a lot of times it's so much better. I mean, for me, I have amazing people around me that when we talk about things, I do have lots of talks about clothes and makeup and all that. Yeah. But also I love my friends who I can be like, this is my deep, dark thing that I'm dealing with, or that this goal I want to accomplish, and they are there to encourage me and all that. And we need those people around us. We need those people who like bring us life.
Yeah.
Right? Who just fill us up and bring us life. And it's good. So don't be scared, everybody. Keep doing the work.
Well, it kind of goes back to that. When I think about it, my new friend group, I think about the saying, like, go where you are celebrated, not tolerated.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I can honestly say, I mean, I do have some friends that are old childhood friends from my drinking days, but I have almost an entirely new social circle of women I connect with better because we are all sober. We're thinking very clearly and rationally.
Yeah.
And we just have different goals and things we're moving toward, and they get me. And I remember thinking, well, if I quit drinking, then I'll lose all my friends.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I got all new, better friends. And I don't even mean better. I mean people that just really get the core of who I am.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you want, right? And maybe we don't even know that's what we want until we're doing the work.
Absolutely.
And we're building a new life, right? And that's what I'm finding is I'm doing this work. I was already doing work before I got divorced, but since the divorce, I'm like, I'm just even doing more and more and more work. Okay, how did this happen? What's the damage? Let's fix it all. You know what I mean? All the things. And so I've been doing all of that stuff. And just, I don't know, I'm worth more than some of these things that just aren't worth my time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that thing about being celebrated, not just tolerated. Because there are some places where I was like, they don't even care what I have to say. Like they barely even acknowledge when I tell them something exciting. I have friends who are like, what? Oh my gosh, and then other people were like, okay, yeah. And I was like, I was telling my daughter that one time and she said, man, you could have stayed in your marriage for that kind of an attitude. With people going, okay, like it wasn't even a big deal. You know what I mean? It's sad.
I hung out with a lot of people who tolerated me, and I sort of just clung on to the situation and drank, and they were drinking, and it was like neither of us seeing very clearly.
Right.
And I look back and I just shake my head. But yeah, I mean, in a weird, sick way, I guess I'm grateful for that time in my life because I looked in stark contrast to the way that it is now.
Right.
And I see so many women come to me at this place of like feeling defeated, insecure, broken, struggling with drinking and probably their weight. A lot of people struggle with their weight, and some of it's all interrelated. But I think the very first step of all of it is we put down the drink and we start to figure out who's underneath all those layers.
Right.
Then we can begin to tackle one thing at a time.
Right. And when you're doing that, that's kind of scary, right? To think about who's under there, because maybe you don't even know because it's been covered with food or alcohol and all that stuff, right? But it's good to try and figure it out, and let's uncover it and see who that person is. And then I would guess that's when you're doing some of the shadow work to really, because if something's coming up, right? If we've been numbing, then you're doing some of that shadow work to see like, okay, what are we numbing, right? What's the thing? Yeah, it's been interesting to do some of that shadow work. I had never done it. And it's like, that was one of the things I've been doing. It's so interesting to kind of, oh, okay, I see why I was doing this. Little Laura, okay, I'm talking to little Laura right now. What did she need, right?
Yeah. And I think because the funny thing is that our wounded parts of ourselves are going to keep coming back, right? Yeah. Keep resurfacing, like you said, little Laura. It's just going to keep coming back over and over and show up in different ways, manifest in different ways until we bring that to the light, accept, okay, I see you, I hear you, it is what it is. Maybe some parts of our wounded self were afraid or insecure or we felt abandoned or for whatever reason, but we're here now. We bring it to the light. We accept it. We can go forward with it. Otherwise, it's just going to keep coming back, right? It'll resurface in some way, shape, or form.
You can deal with it now or you can deal with it later. It's still going to be there. That's the thing as we carry it around like a backpack or something. It keeps coming up. And I think about it like shoved down in there. We can put a bunch of stuff on top of it. We can put ice cream and wine and everything else. And you know what? It still will come back up. That's not enough to keep it down. And who wants to keep it down anyway? It's like, let's clear it out. And that's the thing for me. It's like, what else is in there? Let's get it out of here because I don't want to live my life like that. I want to move forward. That's the thing that people maybe don't understand if you're not super self-aware yet. As I was getting clarity, I'm like, I need more of this and more. Let's do more work and dig more out because I want to be so clear because that became like a high for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so clear right now. I didn't realize how damaging the abuse was because that's how I was living. I was living in survival mode. So you don't realize, right? And maybe we don't realize until it's on the other side a lot of times, or as you're starting to do the work. Are you finding that?
Yeah. And I think going back to what you said about the period of the relationship where they're kind of love bombing you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have experienced that, right? In the beginning phases, and they say and do all the right things. And it is truly like a love bomb. It is like, I remember my ex just coming at me like he was just obsessed with me and just so much love bomb. And it's kind of funny the way that our body and our central nervous system essentially handles those extreme emotions. And I talk about this with alcohol because we're love bombed on. So we feel like intense euphoria. Wow, we're the most special woman in the whole world. But then typical to a narcissist, they're going to pull that back really fast.
Right.
And it all goes away. And then the person that's been love bombed on is left in this like deficit of no love, no attention, no empathy, So the person who's love bombed on is left with like these feelings of, oh my God, I'm alone and, my partner quit noticing me.
Yeah.
And it's funny the way that our central nervous system and brain adapt to even when we are love bombed by alcohol, let's say. The A process is the love bomb of alcohol. We're relaxed, we're calm, we feel buzzed, we feel good. But the B process, where the brain and central nervous system start to compensate, is this plummet into anxiety and restlessness. And so you can see how being in an unstable relationship that's like riding a roller coaster with love bomb and then deficit, it could just be set on fire when you throw in a bunch of alcohol to that and you're self-medicating those highs and lows.
Right.
And so for me, that whole situation was just a recipe for disaster.
Are you feeling trapped in a relationship that leaves you questioning your worth and sanity? Have you noticed the red flags and decided you can't live one more day in a toxic environment? Whether you've just left or are considering leaving a narcissistic partner, the book, Married to a Nice Guy, Getting Over Narcissistic Abuse is here to guide and support you. In this candid memoir, I share my 33-year struggle in a marriage to a nice guy that was marked by emotional manipulation and abuse, revealing how I broke free and reclaimed my life. If you've been waiting for a sign, this book is it. If you've ever felt isolated, confused, or hopeless in your relationship, Married to a nice guy, getting over narcissistic abuse offers the understanding and guidance you need to break free and start your journey to healing. You are not alone, and you deserve a life filled with love, respect, and happiness. Order your copy today and take the first step towards reclaiming your life. Well, especially the anxiety, I remember that being a big deal for me. I felt like I was so anxious all the time anyway, from the devaluing and
Yes.
all the mind games
Yeah.
and everything, because when you're in a narcissistic relationship and you're trying to figure out, am I doing this right? Am I wrong? Because
Yes.
everything, they don't tell you if you're right or wrong or, whatever. Everything is a game, right? And so there was
Yes.
so much anxiety. And then I would have a drink. It's like it just got worse. But even
Yes.
though we were programmed to think that, oh no, it's going to relax you. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, I'm so anxious. It's so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And being in a relationship that with a narcissist is so destabilizing.
Yes.
Like you said, you'd never know when it's coming or going or when you're up or down. And so that's a recipe for disaster for someone who's trying to self-soothe with any form of chemical.
Right.
Because you're never really able to fully regulate your nervous system.
No, absolutely not. That is for sure. And it's funny to think back, not funny, but it's funny to think back that all the times where I was like, oh, I must have anxiety. Or no, it's just I was in the middle of mind games, and then to do other things on top of it because I needed to cope, right? I was trying to find a way to cope because societally it was okay to eat or to drink. And so that's how I was coping without realizing that's how I was coping. Talk about something we talked about was another person can see what you've missed. You had like a house painting analogy. And would that be you, or are you talking about a friend, or tell me about that?
Yeah. So when I talk about coaching, like what is a coach, right? Versus a therapist. And a coaching is not the same as therapy or counseling. Right. And before I got into coaching, I really personally didn't understand it very well as either. And so coaching is sort of like you focus on what's currently in front of you.
Yeah.
Whereas therapy, you may focus on things that have happened in the past.
Right.
You might go back to your childhood, how you coped with those type of things. But when we're talking about things right in front of us, it's often helpful to have a second set of eyes. And so I use the analogy that coaching is like you're going on with your life and you're painting your house, but you don't really know what quite is wrong. And a coach walks by and says, oh, right there, it's because you missed a spot.
Okay.
You're so close to it
Yes.
as the person in the problem, you can't see it. But when you're able to talk to a coach and they see it through their set of eyes, a lot of times I'll tell my clients, that's your story. I don't have to believe that. You tell yourself that.
Yes.
You believe that.
Okay.
But what I'm seeing from an outsider perspective is this.
Oh.
And often it's pretty eye-opening for people to realize that sometimes we tell ourselves things over and over again, so much so that we believe them, and they're really not even facts. Yeah. They're just these limiting beliefs that we've recycled over and over and over in our brain.
Yeah.
And a third party can sit and listen and go, but we can't prove that. That's just a belief. That's not a fact.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so true. One of my friends said, be careful what you think, because you might not even be using your own thoughts. It could be somebody else has said these things to you, about you, whatever.
Yes.
And we're thinking, whatever it is, insert anything here. Yeah. I'm fat or whatever. And I was just talking to my friend about this. Her mother is so slim and whatever. But her mother still to this day looks in the mirror and goes, I'm fat. Yeah. And it's like, that's sad, because who told her that? Somebody told her that. So those are her limiting beliefs. Oh, I got to go on a diet again. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, what are we saying to ourselves every day, right? Mm-hmm. That part of our limiting beliefs that we don't even realize is part of our narrative. Yeah. Because somebody handed us that and said, here, say this to yourself. Oh gosh. It's so hard to do that. I try to catch myself on some things and go, wait, are those even my thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. For the longest time, I told myself, well, I'm just cynical. I'm just a cynical nurse. And that was just
Okay.
something I said automatically without even really thinking about it too much. And it just became like embedded in me, like that's just who I am.
Yeah.
And to sit down and really question, I remember talking about this with my coach. My coach was like, but tell me why you think you're cynical. Like, give me proof of your cynicism, because you seem like a very caring person.
Right.
And I had no proof because it was just something that I had been telling myself. I was like on autopilot,
Yeah.
you know. This was some silly belief I developed 10 years ago that I was saying habitually without even giving it too much thought. And, our thoughts create our reality. So it's nice to bounce things off of people and hear them question that and question your limiting beliefs and say, well, do you know that that's true?
Yeah.
Can you prove that that's true?
Right. We have, we just get scientific in our brain, right? With our neural pathways. And so what we say is very important because it's going to, I always liken it to like they lock into place. So whether we're saying something negative about ourselves or we're saying something positive about ourselves, I always imagine little neurons in there going, hey guys, if somebody goes, I'm just bad at technology. I'm just bad at technology. I'm just bad at that. And I say, when you say that, your little neurons are locking into place going, guys, we're all bad at technology. And so your brain just goes, okay, we're bad at technology. And so now you can't even learn. It's harder to learn that. I'm like, why do you think there's so many, every coach, every motivational speaker, everybody tells you to look in the mirror and say positive things. And I said, even as dumb as you feel, say those positive things, or, do the power of yet, I haven't learned that yet kind of thing, so that you can train your brain. But I said, as silly, that really helped me, as silly as it sounded to stand in the mirror and say, you're doing great today. You got out of bed and you didn't just sit and cry today. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important we have to train our brain to what we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gosh.
I remember I was just talking to a client the other day, and speaking of things that people put in our head and say to us over and over, when I was with my ex, he used to, when we'd get in a fight, would say, well, you're a drunk anyway. No one's going to believe you. You're kind of a piece of work, a drunk, you're a lush. And those messages, I just internalized, like, this is just who I am. I'm just going to be a drunk.
Right.
I'm never going to get out of this cycle. And so it was like when I drank, sometimes I felt like I was saying like F you to my ex, but really I was just saying F you to myself, because I was just giving up on the fact that I could be anything else.
Right.
As I had just accepted that narrative for so long.
Well, and we have to be careful what we say. And I know that people talk about that it runs in the family, right? These things run in the family. And I have started saying, because I do have a lot of toxic stuff in my family. We have a lot of issues. And I just see how my marriage affected my kids. My kids are grown, but they still, of course, are still affected. And so as I'm making changes, I have started saying, I don't care if this runs in my family. It's running out here.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
End of story. But even just to say it and say, because even saying, well, it runs in my family, that's not a cop out, but we're still saying the same kind of thing, right? Because not that alcoholism isn't real and it's not those kinds of things, because that is in my family, but for all of us to have a conversation, me and my kids, and my kids going, no, we're done. Like, we're going to stop it here. And it's a conscious effort to be like, it runs out here. We don't have to go by, okay, well, that's it. It runs in my family. I guess this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to say what we want for our future. I know for people who don't practice it, it sounds silly, but I really believe in saying, even by myself, I just say things out loud, because there's something about it being verbal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is really good for your brain. It really helps with your, the whole neurology of your brain. It really is a good thing. So tell me how people can work with you.
So, if you look at my story, I've been a nurse for 22 years. And this last year, I started my own private practice I call myself a personal development coach. I personally don't care what people call me. You can call me a life coach, a nurse coach, a sober coach. I just say personal development because I think that's a little bit more broad encompassing. But I am a mental health nurse. I still work in mental health. I still have a 9 to 5. I'm also board certified in addiction. So I started putting things out on social media. I have a website. And what I've found is that people have just been reaching out to me through social media or through a referral of a friend and saying, let's work together. And I usually meet on Zoom and do an hour and a half or so call where we get to know each other.
Yeah.
And then I have clients work with me in a 3-month container. So we work one-on-one throughout that time. They have access to me and we meet in live sessions so that we can really work through things that it takes a little while, especially when we're talking about sobriety.
Yeah, of course. And then all the plans that you want, the goals that you're helping people craft some goals and things like that, right? That they're wanting for the future.
Yeah. And it's really personal. I like to say that like your sober journey is highly personal.
Yeah.
It's really up to you. Do you want to go to meetings or not? Do you want to follow a certain structure or not?
Yeah.
Some people get sober through medication assistance. Some people don't want to go to any meetings at all, and they want to completely just do it through coaching. People come to me at various levels of their sobriety. But ultimately, talking through it with someone who's been there, and trust me, I have been there, a lot of things come up that we're able to work through one-on-one. And so it's been it's really enjoyment for me as a nurse who at the bedside, I just haven't had that time to connect.
Right.
Like, I'm in corporate nursing now, so I'm a leader and I don't do as much direct patient care, but
right. Yeah, well, that sounds amazing. So we'll put all that information in the show notes so people can reach out to you and connect with you. And was there anything else you wanted to share today with the audience? Because I think we talked about a lot of good things.
Yeah. I mean, my Instagram is at Kate Vitela or also at Nurse Speaking Up. I have 2 Instagrams. I'm on Facebook. I mean, I'm kind of everywhere. I'm easy to find.
Good.
I think the beauty of me is that I'm really transparent with my story and my life. Because I've gone through so much with addiction, I tell clients, like, you're not going to surprise me. There is nothing you're going to come at me with that I haven't already been through myself, seen or done. Right. So, but yeah, I think it's a really cool conversation talking about how we've healed through abusive narcissistic relationships. And a lot of it has to do with just discovering our own power through sobriety.
Yes.
I think that's a magical message.
It is. It really is. I mean, it's taken back our power, right?
For sure.
And it's so great to have somebody like you on people's side that are going through this kind of thing, because we all need an advocate right by our side to help us through this, somebody who understands. And so I really appreciate you being here today and telling us your story and sharing all your good tips for us today. So if any of this resonated with you today, guys, if you could just go on social media and comment and share, and of course, leave a review for the podcast. And of course, look in the show notes and you can reach out to Kate for all the information on how to reach out to her. So Kate, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Okay, good. I'm so glad. All right. And so we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today on the That's Where I'm At podcast. Did the story today resonate with you? Do you think others would benefit from hearing the stories we are telling? Please go to Apple or Spotify right now to leave a review so everyone in podcast land will know you love the show. We want to continue sharing stories of hope and healing. I'll be back next time. I'll talk to you then.